Good evening. It's Tuesday, the 26th of May, a boiling day. I think we've we broke records yesterday, and I think it's broken those today here in the UK. I'm delighted to be joined, as always. I think you've been here more than anybody else. BB Elsin, who are you? You are this evening, Beth Rogers, which is your. I should change it for the.
Yes, that's my textbook name.
Exactly. Exactly. And so, yes. So we're here to talk about, right, rename. We're here to talk about poetry in its various forms. Now, I say that I don't write, I have written poetry, but I haven't published any, which is true. I'm thinking about it. I have gathered all my poetry, and whether there's enough to make a collection, I don't know. I probably wouldn't publish it under my own name, but I have published women's fiction as Rachel Kavanagh. And because it's a difficult enough job to market one name, I'm then possibly mad for going with a third name because I'm considering bringing Rachel Kavanagh, changing the um, women's fiction
Mhm.
Rachel Kavanagh to Morgan Bailey. Um, but they both appear on Amazon the same, so the jury is out on that one. However, I don't see myself as a poet. So I think, under the fact that I don't see myself as a poet, I wouldn't have the confidence, I think, to publish poetry under my own name.
And yet, we all have the potential to create poetry. I think it's not so much that in days of yore, perhaps when there had to be iambic pentameter and all that kind
Mm.
of stuff.
Yeah.
Then maybe the craft of poetry meant that you could get very good at it, or you'd always be struggling with it.
Mm.
Um, but I think with more free-form poetry these days, it's something that we can all do. And um, hey, there's some classic poetry, like some of T.S. Eliot's work, I find uh, a bit obscure and difficult. And, comparing that to would I read that again versus reading something new from a new name, I'd
Mm.
go for the new name.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I've found, we were chatting before I hit record, that some of the forms of poetry I've only written one of each,
Hmm.
because I was chair of a writing group when I was up in Northampton, and there was the first week was writing group, the second week was poetry group of the month, the third week was reading group, and then the third Tuesday, and then I think the other Tuesday was a theatre group. They'd meet. They go on out on different dates, because obviously it depends on when shows are on. But then whenever they met, that was the sort of fourth Tuesday. And so, to support the poetry group, I went along, and I really did enjoy it. But I found, when I was writing poetry to form, that I it was more luck than anything else.
Hmm.
Especially where you've got, I can't remember, I should have dug them out ahead of time, but I will bring them one of these Saturdays and read them out. And that, where you're repeating a line, so there's one where I think you repeat the first and last line of each verse, each stanza, to then repeat later on. And it just so happened that they worked out with
Hmm.
very little tweaking. But I do think, for me, that was more luck than anything else. But you
And that
write,
kind of morphs into songwriting, doesn't it? Where you get repeats. Um,
yes, yes, because you have one or two verses, and
mhm.
with poetry and songwriting, hopefully we'll run songwriting and have people who write songs with us. Um, but there is a rhythm to it. It's 8 bars, I think, where it has to fit a certain rhythm.
Yeah.
And so, certainly, to form for poetry, it's all on syllables, which again is a rhythm. And so, like sonnets, is a particular form. You've got the couplet at the end. Um, but I think that the good thing about poetry is the word choice. It makes you think about the word choice.
Mhm.
If you've got, say, you've only got two syllables left on a line, you're going to use a simpler word, or the opposite. You might need a three syllable
Mhm.
word, and then you'll be more open to longer, perhaps more expressive words. But it's also how it sounds aloud. Because
Yeah.
when we're writing, not necessarily a whole novel, but certainly a short story, and we should read it aloud or have the computer read it aloud to us. And poetry does tend to be more spoken word.
Mm.
When we go to spoken words events, people, a lot of the participants will be there reading poetry. And I'm always in awe if they can read it without having something written down in front of them. And there was one in Northampton that I looked to joining, and they said, "Oh no, you're not allowed. You're not allowed anything on paper." I said,
Oh my goodness.
"Memory." I couldn't remember
Wow.
two lines in my school play when I was 12. Then I'm not going to remember a whole poem or a whole short story.
Mm.
And yet, when we're listening to songs, because we've got the music,
Yes.
we know all the words,
It's
don't we?
drummed into our heads, isn't it?
It
But
is.
then we couldn't repeat it without the prompt of the music.
Yes.
I mean, when
We
I
get
hear
so far.
song or see something on a quiz, where is this song lyric from? I think,
Mm.
and then as soon as they play the music, I think, oh yeah.
Yeah. So I love watching. I like Pointless
Mm.
with Alexander
Armstrong.
Armstrong. That's it. And various. It was Richard Osman.
Yeah.
And I remember one of the. I think it was a multiple choice. One of the rounds was which of these lyrics are in the Police song? Is it "Every Breath You Take"?
Mm.
And so you're there thinking, singing the song to yourself, seeing which ones. I mean, some of them were obvious,
Mm.
um, but singing the song to yourself, and you do know it. And but you do, as you say, you do need that reminder
Mm.
to
I
and
thought I'd got a pointless one today.
you really
It's about things with grand in the title.
right.
And as you know, I have this passion about the Civil War period. And so the clue was what was the list of complaints that Parliament had about Charles I in 1641. And that's a grand remonstrance. And it was a one pointer. Somebody else knew.
Wow. Oh,
That put me in my place.
oh. Well done though for being the one in your own circuit.
Exactly. Yes.
Um, I'm going to ask you a very, very basic question because you write short stories and novels, so that's prose. When I ran I think it was the January one, it was online. We did I think it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon, poetry and short story session. That's 3/4 of an hour. I think it was 40 minutes, and one of the topics was what's the difference
Mm,
between poetry and short stories. And Lee Benson was on the panel, and he said not a lot really. There's a lot of interlinking between the two. And I remember back in the day when I went to my first ever, it turned out to be a critique group. It was a college course, and there was homework, but you could bring either something you'd written for homework or something you were working on. And I took along a poem, which I will read actually one of these Saturdays. And it was through the eyes of a 6-month-old baby, and he's describing everything that's going on. And I was really fond of it. And Sally Spedding, who was the tutor for that, said, "Oh no, it's chopped up prose." And so I don't know whether you can answer the question of which did you start first, if you remember, short stories or poetry, or have you kind of always been doing them? And how do you see they interlink with each other? Certainly, free verse. What would you say is the difference? That's the
Um, I probably just started doing poetry because one of my writing groups had a competition, and one of my other writing groups also does sort of poetry connected with some of our local community projects.
Mm,
Um, so I didn't start out thinking of myself as somebody who would do poetry. There are people I know from writing groups, and whatever the subject is, they always do a poem
right.
rather than a short story.
Mm,
So where do I see the difference? I think um, poetry is more demanding in terms of use of words.
hmm
Particularly, of course, if you're trying to make rhyming poetry, less so with free verse. Um, uh, but even with free verse, you have to think about almost the music of the words.
mm. A
Um,
lot of alliteration.
yes,
Mm.
and uh, also with poetry, I think readers are more tolerant of the unsaid.
Okay.
I mean, we're always told that in novels, we shouldn't be explicit, we shouldn't tell things.
Mm.
But even in a short story, people expect a beginning, a middle, and an end,
Yes.
and no kind of loose ends.
Mm.
So, uh, um, so on the one hand, with poetry, you have the discipline of the use of words, but in terms of the way you work with the storyline,
Mm.
you've got more freedom.
Right. There was
That's
something
my
just
interpretation.
yeah. Well, it just reminded me because we were downstairs having a very healthy salad because it's too hot to have anything hot. And I was just looking through my Facebook feed, and Chesham Literary Festival, which it's just down the road. They'd put up. This was 3 hours ago, and I'd only screenshotted it about half an hour ago. And it's got writing a poem, 4 questions to ask yourself. And it's interesting that they're four of the six that we've talked about: the who, what, where, when, why, and how.
Mhm.
I'm guessing it goes in that order. So it goes, they've got it anti-clockwise. So this is, I don't know if you can see it there.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Um, so who, we'll start with the who, because yes, it's all going anti-clockwise. Who is speaking in this poem? And then it goes down to why. Why does this need to be written? And then it goes along to what emotion or truth is being held, and then how, if that makes sense. Then how will you express it honestly? And it looks like this has come from Poem Stellium writing process, so they found it somewhere else. This is Cheshire
Mhm.
Literary Festival. um, so it's interesting that it comes back to the who, why, what, and how, which are the
Yeah.
questions that we ask ourselves when we're thinking of the plot of our longer works.
I think
um,
most poems do have a strong voice and a single voice, of course.
mm,
Um, but when you think about some of the classical poetry, though, it's surprising how much of it is personal to the poet,
yes.
particularly the Romantic poets. They are talking about their observations of nature.
Mm,
Um, and I mean, obviously that poetry has a place, but
mm.
quite often when I'm writing a poem, I am imagining myself as something else. I mean, I think I read one on Saturday where I was a sweet chestnut,
You did, yes.
um, and yes, I've got one which I was going to read, which was about being a bee.
Oh, lovely. Well,
Um,
Merritt will appreciate that.
oh right,
Writes
well,
books. She writes books about bees.
it's actually what I would call a very simple poem. Um, I, I mean, it's light-hearted and it to to have a kind of broad magazine appeal.
Right.
Um,
And is it in is it in your coffee and commute?
it
Oh,
is
in your, okay.
yeah.
Could you show,
Uh,
could you,
oh,
oh,
that's the page.
oh, there we go. There
Then
we go. Ah,
oh,
yes. So
yeah.
is it the first one? It looks like a short microfiction. Or is the one
No,
below?
it's the
Ah,
bit in the middle.
okay.
I think it's
Does that look
12
structured?
lines.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
not quite a sonnet.
right. You need a couplet at the end.
Yeah, so I called it a plea from a bee. Yeah, back a few years ago when I was trying to be a householder and a good householder, and I had a garden which I tended. Um, uh, I I I really one of the things I loved was hearing the hum of bees.
Mm,
It was something that could actually calm me, and there's not much that calms me.
right.
So I got very fond of bees. So this is a plea from a bee to other people with plots to tend.
Right.
The thrum of my silver wings will charm and calm you. See my yellow and black striped coat, and you'll thrill warm. My tireless work in our fields and orchards feeds you, spreading golden pollen so seeds and fruit can form. Please spare me a thought when you choose your garden plants. I crave early drinks at snowdrop and hellebore. Pansies, primroses, and irises make me dance. Lavender, sweet peas, and penstemon I adore. Fuchsia, salvia, and poppies do delight me. And remember the sweet bloomers, latest of all. Honeysuckle, asters, and sedum nourish me, and I love ivy flowers on a sheltered wall.
Oh, lovely. I love it. Yes, I was saying earlier on about the alliteration. You've got the charm, well, the alliteration and rhyming, the charm and the calm, and the pansies and primrose, and the list. Because poetry to me is when it's observation
Mm,
and expressing a moment. It's often the short stories. They don't always. I mean, some novels. There's Ian McEwan's Saturday. The whole book is not very long, but the whole book takes place in one day.
mm,
But obviously, novels tend to be over a certain amount of time. Short stories often a shorter amount of time, or a within an hour or two, or whereas I think poems tend to be observations and reflections and
and
captures
of
of a
course,
moment.
the beloved haiku, which does do, as you just said, capture a
Yes,
mood.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
No, exactly. So how do you write to form? If you're asked, say you want to enter a competition, and let's go with sonnet because you've just done a 12 line.
Mhm.
Do you find do you prefer to be given a theme to write to, or if do you like open themes with competition?
Yes, I think with competitions, by and large, you do get a theme.
Mm,
Sometimes it can be quite open. Um, and if it's a specific form, then I would start by going to read some of that form by the greats.
right.
Um, and of course, with sonnets, one always thinks of Shakespeare.
Yeah.
Um, but not all of his sonnets are absolutely perfectly wonderful. Some of them are of course, very famous and have expressions like the darling buds of May and lilies that do fester smell as foul as weeds, and some of Shakespeare's great quotes came from his sonnets.
Mm,
And there's always the mystery about who the Dark Lady might be, if any of them are actually written to his wife.
mm,
Um, I, so I suppose I do have a presupposition that a sonnet will be a love poem.
right.
Um, but it might not be. I mean, if you're given the theme of conflict, then Mind you, some of his sonnets are about a lady having uh, uh, repelled him,
Okay.
dumped him, I suppose.
Uh, yes.
Um,
And do you find when you write them, do you have to do much alteration thereafter to get it?
oh yes,
Or do you?
yeah, yes. You have to do way more drafting and redrafting than you do with the story.
Mm.
Um, yes. So,
Do you have a favourite form?
I think I prefer open to rhyming.
Mm.
I think sometimes rhyming encourages you to choose very easy endings, rhymable endings to lines, which can be a bit false.
And
Um,
I think sometimes people invert just to get it to work.
yes.
Um, there's, I think, my favourite poet. I don't know whether I've got his book here. I should have got it. Oh yes, it's up there. Shel Silverstein. There's one called well, the two I really like. Not here, it's easy. Yeah, were you going to read us another one?
I'm looking for one in particular that you might find amusing, and I thought I'd marked it. Um,
Well, I'm just going to get the two that I know. The Shel Silverstein. He only died quite
I know
recently.
where it must be.
Um,
Right. I've found it.
oh, good.
Now this is actually grouped haiku.
Okay.
Um, so it doesn't rhyme because haiku doesn't have to
No,
rhyme.
no.
It is, but then of course haiku is supposed to be moments. So this is a kind of a group of moments
Right.
in a sequence. And you might find it amusing because this is the sad me on a Saturday afternoon going to watch my beloved Wickham Wanderers.
Ah, at
And this is a cup game.
Sand End, something End,
Sorry.
Sands. Are they still down in West Wickham? Is it Sands?
Well, yeah, not quite West Wickham.
Oh,
Is
Sands. Yeah,
the
yeah,
Sands Industrial Estate, of course, very
yeah.
glamorous, very
Very
glamorous.
salubrious. I used to go to car boot sales there.
All right. Well, I suppose what's glamorous is the hills around it.
Yes.
And in spring the banks behind the stands are just
Mm.
covered in cowslips. It's
Oh, how
gorgeous.
lovely.
Um, yes, more gorgeous than what we sometimes see on the pitch, but there we go.
Yes.
So this is called Up for the Cup. Stride a littered path, meld with pouring blue-clad crowd. Tense hope unites us. Clanking turnstile squeeze, concrete steps to bird's eye view, pie, chips, Kit Kat, tea. Tinny music plays, high-vis cluster at tunnel. At last, legs burst forth. Expectant cheering, ref's hand high. Breathless hush. Shrill, the first kick. Pass, cross, pass again, possession lost, tackle back, foul, free kick, ball sails. Their goalie hugs it. Strong kick lofts the ball forward. Boot connects. One down. Despair engulfs, but soon fresh hope blooms in sad souls, cutting past a wing. Howl a tribal scream. Feel like a mighty mountain. The net bulged for us. Tip tap, lose ball, sigh. Tip tap, back pass, tip tap, sigh. Nose, bum, toes, all cold. Man hacked down. Crowd growls. Players rage. Ref waves yellow. Free kick short. Wasted. Their crosslands sweet. Shot. Taut muscle blocks. Phew, I love that solid player. Tip tap, lose ball, sigh. Tip tap, back pass, tip tap, sigh. Nose, bum, toes, all cold. Corner, shirts bob up, strong neck, fires ball, neck bulges. I burst with rapture. How long to whistle? Can we hang on? Nerves jangle. All scrambled over. It's theirs. Hearts bleed. Their fans then whistle, taunt us. Shootout torture looms. Dare we look? We must. The cheers, the groans. We squeeze it. Raw, orgasmic, raw.
Wow. I love the rhythm. There was one bit in particular, once the game had started,
Hmm.
where it's really like this, and then we're on the edge of our seat, as you were on the edge of
Hmm.
your seats, and I love the onomatopoeia of poetry,
Yes,
because you've got the clanking and the repetition of the tip tap, and
yeah.
brilliant, love it. And it's really clever in haiku,
Hmm.
really clever, because it does make you
Yeah,
think about syllables.
I normally have this reputation for being gloomy.
Right.
Um, in this particular match, we lost the shootout, but I had to turn it round at the end. I just
Well,
couldn't
yes,
stay.
exactly. You can do what you like in poetry.
Yes.
Um, whenever on the rare occasion I taught poetry, it was very, very basic. There's one was a haiku, Fibonacci, um, and we looked at free verse and songwriting and lyrics. And it was lovely seeing everybody. There was the adult learning, so it was age 19 upwards, and it was part. I think I did poetry as a one day. I think I don't know if I did it actually for that long. I think it was a week, so it was two hours a week as part of something else. I think it was forms, and it was lovely. If I said that, so I gave them examples that I'd created, and so they could get an idea of what syllables were. And it was lovely when you give them the task and they're all there going like this with their fingers, trying to work
I
out
did. Yes,
what
I
the
did.
syllables. I've got this shell silver. I should remember these, but I haven't gone to them for quite a while. Um, so there's one called "It's Dark in Here." I'm writing these poems from an inside a lion, and it's rather dark in here. So please excuse the handwriting, which may not be too clear. But this afternoon, by the lion's cage, I'm afraid I got too near. And I'm writing these lines from inside a lion, and it's rather dark in here. So that's the first one. And then there's one called Snowball. Snowball. I made myself a snowball as perfect as could be. I thought I'd keep it as a pet and let it sleep with me. I made it some pajamas and a pillow for its head. Then last night it ran away, but first it wet the bed. I love it. It's so. I have a book of his right in the corner. I'd have to stretch up and get it.
It's
Yeah,
so
yeah,
good.
I love, and people belittle rhyming humorous poetry.
Hmm.
The likes of Wendy Cope. She came back in the day when Northampton Council had funds to have authors and top authors. We had Alexei Sale. He'd written a collection of short stories. It's one of my favourites called Barcelona Plates.
Hmm.
And the first story is the title story, Barcelona Plates. Such a good story. Never give that collection away. Alexei Sale. We have Will. I would say Carver. It wasn't Carver. Will Self. It's another one.
Oh, yes.
Hilary
Mhm.
Mantel. We had her one time, and Wendy Cope, the poet. And she write very kind of slightly more serious than Pam Ayres, but
Mhm.
quite jovial, often about her and her husband. So she'd sort of relate tales to her and her husband or about her husband.
Mhm.
And it's just really clever. And she said she writes a poem every day.
Mhm.
Occasionally she'll give herself Christmas Day off, but
Right.
usually she'll get up early and she'll
Mhm.
she'll write a poem before everybody gathers on Christmas Day.
Mhm.
Um, but then which you wouldn't necessarily, I guess, write a perfect poem. She
Mm,
might form something, and then, as you say, go back to it later.
mm. It comes back down to discipline, doesn't it? And oh dear. Um, well, uh, I I did get told the other day that I successful writers get up at 4:30 in the morning, and I was thinking, oh, okay.
Well, I've actually the last
I
it
know
was
my
not
place, and it's not
right.
up at 4:30.
Well, I sleep near the window, and so yesterday morning was 5, 5:15. I did manage to get back to sleep again, but this morning was 5:05, and I got up. So I've
Hmm.
been awake since 5:05, and I'm not sure how many because I do word count per week. So I
Oh.
don't know how many. I didn't see how many words I'd done yesterday, but I've been writing pretty much all day, in between checking emails and replying to emails that couldn't wait. Um, and so what I've kind of said for quite a while, I'd love to go to bed at 8, not in this heat, but I'd love to go to bed at 8 and then get up at 4.
Hmm.
But I think no, I'm going to aim to go to bed at 9 and get up at 5. Because Tim gets up early anyway during the week.
Hmm.
He's up at 7, which not as early as 5 o'clock. But all morning this morning, I was thinking it was about 10 o'clock and it was 8. And then it was midday and it was 10 o'clock. And you feel by the time it's lunchtime, you've got so much done.
Hmm.
But the trouble is, when I get to sort of 9 o'clock, I don't want to go to bed, especially
Hmm.
when it's still daylight. And so, but yeah, I since just before going to, I think it was after our in-person festival on the 26th of April, I've been writing almost every day, every morning
Hmm.
since then. So yeah, pretty much a month, um, on and off, but a chunk of 20,000 on this set of projects, my new 60 book series. But it is, yes, you have to set aside, you know how long something's going to take. But I do it because I was doing, well, I'll aim, because I've done
However
NaNoWriMo.
long I think something is going to take, it's always twice or three times as long.
Yes,
Goes back
exactly.
to the old days of working with software installations and
Right,
um, trying to persuade everybody on the project team is, oh, right, I accept that that is how long it should take,
right.
but that is not
Yeah,
how long we're going to
yeah.
assume it takes.
Well, I learned from my dad because he loved doing DIY, and he was always
Hmm.
pottering. He worked for himself. He's a photographer and had a small chain of shops, and so he didn't have a lot of free time. Sunday was pretty much it because he'd get home late in the week. But he loved to tinker in the garage
Hmm.
and had a shed up the top of the garden, and they had an allotment. My mum did pretty much all of it, but he had a couple of ponds and loved tinkering on a Sunday. Um, and he said, "Oh, going to do a 5 minute job. I'll see you in a couple of hours."
Yeah.
And everything just things crop up. It's like life, isn't it? Things crop
Yeah.
up. You just think, right, now I'm going to do this, and then an email comes in, and could you just do this, or I've can you collect some books or for the book swaps and things like that. So
I don't know when I'm thinking of another poem, and this is one I really enjoyed writing, and
okay,
I thought was better than my writers group thought it was. But anyway,
okay, interesting.
um, I would just trigger warning. It does have subtle erotic overtones.
Okay.
It,
We're over 18, so we're okay.
yes, we're
It's
over
not
18.
made for kids, so we're okay.
Um, it's called Queen of Trees.
Okay.
Let me lie in your spread copper skirts. Let me feel your toes sucking sugar and spice from the chalky loam. Let me caress your sculpted grey limbs and bask in the smell of your strength. Sway your arms in dance with the murmuring breeze. Shake the jewels in your waving hair. Let me bathe in the softness of their shade. My eyes could drink that shimmering green all day long. Let the sunlight dapple down from the rich blue sky to worship you, casting silver on the dusty red path. I crave your embrace, fairest queen of trees, but I have no offering, only words.
Wow.
Now,
Do
that
you,
might just be chopped up prose or it's poetry. I don't know.
it because also it's in the presentation. It's not quite the right word, but sort of somewhere between presentation and performance.
Mm,
It's yes, it's how you set how you the tone and the how you mouth each word, and the speed or lack of that you the rhythm of it. Um, it's lovely. It's really lovely.
thank
Um,
you.
yeah, I think it's better than your mighty walk them to. No, it's beautiful. I think it's yeah. Any poetry that's beautiful, and I
Mm,
think that is beautiful. It's um. I don't know whether this is an oxymoron. Subtly raunchy, as you say. It's got undertones, overtones of eroticism. Um, I think it's lovely. Do you count your syllables when you, even if you're doing, um,
free verse.
yes,
Mm. I'm
because
not
it
sure I
feels
do when I'm doing free verse, obviously with
so,
haiku and
yeah,
very much so
yeah.
with rhyming
And
poetry.
is that one in a book? Is that typed out?
Yes, that's
Can you,
that's in coffee
can
ink.
you can you have a go at showing it on the screen and see? Because it feels quite that the lines are similar. I don't know whether it was just how you read it, that they are of similar length.
So it's got
Oh
an
yes, they're quite.
introduction at the top.
Yes, it looks
Lots
like a
of different length lines.
right. It looks like a tree because it's going like that, and then you've got the trunk at the bottom.
Yeah, yeah, yes, actually, I could see that
Oh,
now.
it's like a
If you
Christmas
mention
tree.
it. I didn't kind of design that in, but
No,
maybe it was
it,
just
it,
serendipity.
yes, no. It was without seeing it on the page because obviously you're reading one line and then going on to another one. It
Mm.
felt very not uniformed in a bad way, but it felt equal, as if it could be a two form. Um, what are you working on any poetry for competition at the moment?
I am indeed Morgan, and I'm not getting very far very quickly.
Right.
Um, it is traditional format in the style of the English Romantics,
Okay.
and it is a pastoral idyll,
Right.
um, and uh, much as I can read that poetry,
Oh,
I don't feel confident writing it.
right.
Um, so I've got some lines out. I mean, the maximum is 40. Well, who
Okay.
knows? I might get
That's
to
quite
25.
quite standard.
Um, but uh, yes, it's challenging me a lot.
Well, that's not a bad thing.
Not a bad thing
When
at all. At
when's your
all.
deadline?
Uh, Sunday.
Oh, okay. End of May. Ah, okay.
Yes.
Yes.
So I'm going to perhaps have to turn my attention from power and puppetry for a short while and really
Yes.
focus on this poem.
Yeah. Well, I think it's good to do something and then go off and do something else and come back to it, because then it's especially if you're doing um, prose and then come back to the poetry, because it's a bit like I've got so many works in progress that when I go back to them, although I know I've written it, it'll be like somebody else has written it because I don't remember any of it. Which is a good way to edit, really, is to go back through it. And you're I'm gonna do my maths now. Well, you're over halfway, 25 lines out of a maximum 40. So, and sorry, what was the theme? Or was it just to that?
Pastoral idyll.
Right. Okay. And is it a paid comp? You have to pay to enter it.
No, no.
Oh, okay.
At
So
least,
it's worth doing. It's worth doing regardless.
yes, it is.
Yeah. Oh, good. Good. Well, I shall wish you luck.
Thank you.
Do you
And
have
what
a?
about you? Are you uh uh have you selected your poems that you plan to share on a
Well, I
Saturday?
oh I have them. I'm going to have a go at the one that I read out that nearly ended my interest in writing when I took it to Sally Spedding's. And I say this,
Uh-huh.
I think I've said this to you before actually. When I do a WI talk, I talk about my journey through all these books
Mm.
and I have them lined up and I start at the beginning and say, and then go off at relevant tangents. And I say that when I moved to Northamptonshire, I didn't know anybody, so I went to evening classes, brushed up on my German and French and my Word and Excel, and then there come a new term, there was a creative writing class in Northampton, and it just said creative writing, so I didn't really know what to expect. And I took along this poem, 6-month-old baby, where describing, and I say to the class that it got pulled apart, and I was driving home, and in with all these WI ladies in front of me, I go, "That was horrible. I'm never going to go back," and they all laugh, or some of them laugh, and I say, but Sally set some homework to write a crime story, and I think had I not had any hint of a thick skin, I may not have gone back. But the thing is, I grew up reading and I loved writing at school. So I think I would have gone back. But the fact that she'd set a crime story as a homework, short story as a homework, that got me. Within a couple of days, I said, just get over yourself,
Mm.
um, and write it, take it along, and it still got pulled apart. But it showed enough promise, and Sally was actually really encouraging, lovely.
Mhm.
And that it's the make or break. Often you hear of people who have either at school, teachers have been really encouraging, therefore they've and said you'd be a really good writer, and they've ended up perhaps some years later where they do end up writing properly,
Mhm.
taking it seriously, and other times where uh, uh, my school syllabus at Challoner's back in the day, early mid 80s, it killed my love of history because it
Mhm.
was all about, and I have such a terrible memory, and I do remember getting 2% in one exam because we had 50 years to remember, and I only remembered one of them, and that
Was
was
that
probably
Dr.
either
Charles Mansion?
1066 or 1666, or maybe one of the 20th century wars. Um, and the syllabus we had, and yet the English literature syllabus we had was fantastic.
Mm.
We had the Scottish play Macbeth, Moonfleet, which was quite dark, Jane Eyre, which was dark. We went to see Midsummer Night's Dream at the Round Theatre um, in Stratford,
Mm.
and what else was there? All the really, Lord of the Flies. Can't get a lot
Oh.
darker than Lord of the Flies. And so that really appealed to my dark side. So English
Mhm.
and English literature were my best, and art. I loved art. Were
Mm.
my best languages, best subjects at school. Um, but it just, unfortunately, I have no interest in history. Tim, he isn't now because he's gone out, but he loves anything historical. So he'll watch anything war related, history related, science. And I remember my mum and dad, they told me afterwards that they'd gone to the first, this was in secondary school, so I was 12. They'd gone to the first parents' evening. My science teacher, physics teacher, who we called the Jolly Brown Giant, because he was about 6'6" and always wore the same or a variation of a brown suit, brown jacket, brown trousers, called Mr. Philpott. And apparently he said I should give up physics at the earliest opportunity. So I went, yep, no problem at all.
Mm.
I was more the arts side anyway. But it's
I would have liked to have done a bit more of a mix because I did like biology and chemistry. I didn't like physics either.
right.
But yeah, and I couldn't. I wasn't very good at music. But I liked art,
I love to.
and we had to make various choices. But as far as English went at Wickham High School, my form we had a teacher called Mrs. Pilling who became Dame Anne Pilling, an award-winning poet.
Oh,
She also, I think, got awards for children's literature.
mm.
So yes, I mean, we were taught by the best.
Yes, absolutely. But they do, schools do form, this is sort of an obvious statement, but schools really do form our early years,
Hmm,
don't they? And stay with us in a lot of respects. But good on Dame Pilling
hmm,
for instilling that in you and having a good syllabus at the time.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
brilliant. Thank you, Beth.
You're
As
welcome.
always, I'm going to melt now because I've got the door shut.
Right.
Wembley Arena, as Tim calls it, my strip light above. And the computer, hopefully, this recording hasn't picked up any noise, but the fan's been going since we started pretty much, and the computer's been off all day. So it hasn't got too hot. But anyway, thank you. We'll
You're
see
welcome.
you soon.
Yes.
Right.
And uh, try and cool down.
Yes, absolutely. Well, you look cool there. Well, you got
Yes,
your
well,
background.
I've done all the recommended things. I've got the curtains shut,
Right.
I've
Yes.
uh and so I've been managing.
Good. Are you upstairs or downstairs?
Well, I'm in a flat. I'm on the first floor,
Okay.
so
So warm,
um,
hotter than upstairs.
probably the most sheltered bit, I
Oh,
suppose.
good.
Mm,
Yeah, I'm upstairs with the sun
mm.
this way, so I'm in probably the hottest. I'm in the aquarium of the house. Anyway, thank you, Beth. See you soon.
Okay,
All right.
bye.
Thank you. Bye.